the Right Honorable Said Musa, Deputy Party Leader Cordell Hyde, Mayor of Belize City, and the councillors of the council, Mayor of Orange Walk Town Council, Mayor Bernard, and the former ministers of government, all our friends. Please forgive me if I'm leaving out anyone. Members of the media as well. Good morning again. I am humbled and honored and grateful for this extraordinary privilege to be present with you on this very memorable day to remember and honor the 100th earthly birthday of a humble, devoted, and dedicated servant of God, the Right Honorable George Cadle Price. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to acknowledge with a rousing applause our honor and love for this extraordinary Belizean. Thank you. As ordinary mortals, we are remembering this earthly birthday today, but in paradise and throughout eternity, George Price celebrates eternal life. It is worth mentioning that the national hero shares this birth date with another extraordinary human being, the late Martin Luther King Jr. But I must also pause for those of us who are ever conscious of our Catholicity, that we celebrate today the feast of Nuestro Señor de Esquipulas, sometimes referred to as the Black Christ. And while his shrine is physically located in Esquipulas, Guatemala, he is venerated throughout Central America, and so we pause to honor him and to remember this day. Mr. Price never failed to remind me that he was born on the feast day of Nuestro Señor de Esquipulas. This morning, we are gathered together as one family at this sacred space to pay tribute and to memorialize not only the life and work of the Honorable George Cadle Price, but also his legacy to us, the Belizean people. Unquestionably, there is an abundance of very good things I could say about Mr. Price, Uncle George, as I sometimes refer to him. But I would be severely limited in time and scope to say all that I would wish to say and write. Moreover, the sterile pages of my notepad would not suffice to render justice to his enormous legacy. The great Lebanese American Khalil Gibran, who in one of his epic poems wrote of children, and I quote, "Your children are not your children. They are the children of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you." End of quote. George Price came from his parents, William and Irene Cecilia Price, in a physical sense, but in a philosophical and otherwise sense, George Price was the child of Belize. Belize gave birth to him and nurtured him, and thus he was sent to fulfill the mission of his creator, and not necessarily to fulfill the desires of his parents. Much has been written, said, and remembered about the accomplishments of George Price. And one such singular accomplishment has been the attainment of our sovereign Belizean independence, with all our territories intact. Under his leadership, Belize experienced the introduction of universal adult suffrage in 1954. Prior to this time, only propertied males could vote. Today, every adult Belizean, 18 years and older, has the right to exercise his or her vote. A remarkable achievement by a man missioned to serve his Belizean people. Then there was the achievement of internal self-government in 1964, which would serve as the precursor or forerunner to what would become Mr. Price's most coveted achievement, the attainment in 1981 of our Belizean political independence. It must be noted, however, that in spite of Mr. Price's spectacular political career and accomplishments, his other committed vocation was his intensely personal spiritual mission, a mission he never sacrificed on the altar of material gain, nor ever did he flaunt it for the sake of personal attention or notoriety. Never did Mr. Price peddle his enormous influence, for he was a man with near impeccable Christian values who believed that he should never hold himself higher than the people he was called to serve. He was, as so many persons can attest to, a very humble servant of the people, a man never consumed by his ego, a man concerned about the plight of the poor of our society, a man who was concerned about the need for the education of our young people, a man who was willing to sacrifice his immediate happiness and comfort for our people, and a man who thoroughly believed in dedicating his entire life in service of his Belizean family. In essence, George Price lived the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And this is why when he departed this earthly life on September 19, 2011, the Belizean people came face to face with the glaring awareness that he had left an indelible imprint on the lives of Belizeans and had left Belize a little better place than he found it. History, it is said, a little kinder and gentler than the present. And for some of us who probably had difficulty understanding the ways of Mr. Price, or probably didn't understand his motivation, perhaps thought him to be a bit eccentric in part, time will perhaps reveal to us that we were given a real treasure of a man whose memory we must preserve for the generations of Belizeans yet to come. Belizean history books have recorded and will continue to record the political accomplishments of the Honorable George Cadle Price. But the passage of history will undoubtedly be unkind to us, his Belizean family, and even so, his People's United Party family, if ever we forget him and the legacy he has undeniably bequeathed to us. Forget this day in the history of our country and our party, and we will not be able to recover it. For our generational memory lies in the hearts and souls of our Belizean children of tomorrow. As I close, help me to remember Mr. Price, who by his life exemplified the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Rest in paradise, Mr. Price. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sylvia. And yes, I've heard it said that Mr. Price was somewhat of a mystic. I think Don Hector called him a mystic this morning even. And when he was choosing the date for independence, many of you would know that he could have chosen any date in September. There were some people saying he should have chosen the 10th of September, since that was celebrated as our national day before. But he chose the 21st because he believed wholeheartedly in numbers. 2 + 1 is 3, the Holy Trinity. He believed in that, and he wanted Belize to be a Christian nation. And as Sylvia said, he died September 19, 2011, almost exactly 30 years after independence. So again, he paid tribute, even in death, to the Holy Trinity. I'd like to read a little bit more from the appointment with history. Just a few more. I believe that it's important for these speeches to be read over and over. I heard it on the radio this morning, and I think it's important that we continue to read those speeches. And I hope that on the birthday, I'm promising this on my part, to go to the schools every birthday to read some of these speeches when I can. He said, "The history of our country and its peoples is a struggle to assert ourselves, a conflict with destructive forces, a decision to make for ourselves a better life and to secure an international personality. Let every citizen be assured that we do not intend to be integrated, reincorporated, assimilated, or taken over by any country. While we shall not surrender even 1 square centimeter of our national territory. Our emerging nation and its people have a right to expect us to rise to a new concept of patriotism in order to meet the challenge which the present and the future demand of us. The vision of a rich and happy future for our people should stir us to greater united action. With trust in one another and with confidence that we can make this vision, a rich and happy future, a reality, we shall keep this crucial appointment with history. And God willing, we shall not be found wanting." With that said, thank you.